Greetings. This is Greg again. Hiker Poet series. I am on a couple mountains. Actually, the area is called the Gothic Basin, and it's an area that I have never been to before. And it's quite beautiful. Took about 2.5 hours to get to the very beginning of the basin, and then I went another 10 or so minutes in, and I'm sitting in a reclusive little nook. It's stunning. Really, really stunning. There's the snow-patched mountain peaks. There's a name of that peak that I don't remember off the top of my head. That peak. And there are a couple lakes, including Foggy Lake, which I may read another poem at, but I have to get my lunch eaten. I packed pretty light on this trip. I just took bug spray, sunscreen, which I haven't used, probably a bad idea, lots of water, raincoat, which has not been needed, a few bars, extra t-shirt, and banh mi sandwich for the win. And I brought hiking poles, but my hands are not adjusted, and so I've gotten blisters, which are pretty nasty. And that's pretty much it. The book I brought, because I couldn't really find a non-urban book that was on my queue, so I brought Mind Breaths, and which I've never read before. I've read parts of, but not fully. Plenty of poems that I could easily screw up in terms of pronunciation. And plenty of vulgar poems in this one. Beat poems. Buddhist poems. This seems pretty relevant. The title poem is Mind Breaths. Here's to hoping that I don't get interrupted, or it is fairly long. Allen Ginsberg. Book originally published in 1978. Thus cross-legged on round pillows sat in Teton space. I breathed upon the aluminum microphone stand a body's length away. I breathed upon the teacher's throne, the wooden chair with yellow pillow. I breathed further past the sake cup, half emptied by the breathing guru. Breathed upon the green-sprigged, thick-leaved plant in a flower pot. Breathed upon the vast plate glass shining back, the assembled, sitting sangha in the meditation cafeteria. My breath through nostril floated out to the moth of evening, beating into windowed illumination. Breathed outward over aspen twigs, trembling September's top yellow leaves, twilight at mountain foot. Breathed over the mountain, over snow-powdered crags, ringed under slow-breathed cloud mass white spumes. Windy across Tetons to Idaho, gray ranges, under blue space swept with delicate snow flurries. Breaths westward, mountain grass trembling in tiny winds toward Wasatch, breezes south late autumn in Salt Lake's temple wooden streets. White salt dust lifted swirling by the thick leaden lake, dust carried up over Kennecote's pit onto the massive unit rig. Out towards Reno's neon, dollar bills skittering down street along the curb. Up into Sierra's oak leaves blown down by fall cold chills, over peak top snowy gales beginning. A breath of prayer down on Kit Dizzy's horn green leaves close to ground, over Gary's tile roof, over temple pillar, tents and manzanita arbors in Sierra Pine foothills. A breath falls over Sacramento Valley, roar of wind down the 6-lane freeway across Bay Bridge. Uproar of paper floating over Montgomery Street. Pigeons flutter down before sunlit from Washington Park's white church steeple. Golden Gate waters, white-capped, scudding out to Pacific spreads. Over Hawaii, a balmy wind through hotel palm trees, a moist warmth swept over the airbase, a dank breeze in Guam's rotten customs shed. Clear winds breathe on Fiji's palm and coral shores. By wooden hotels in Suva flags flutter, taxis whoosh by Friday night's black promenades. Under the rock and roll discotheque window upstairs beating with English neon. On a breeze into Sydney and across hillside grass, where mushrooms lie low on cow flops in Queensland, down Adelaide's alleys, a flutter of music from Brian Moore's Dobro carried in the wind, up through Darwin Land, out Gove Peninsula, green ocean breeze, clack of Yirkala village, song sticks by the trembling wave. Yea, and a wind over mercurial waters of Japan northeast. A hollow wooden gong echoes in Kyoto's temple hall below the graveyard's wavy grass. A foghorn blowing in the China Sea. Torrential rains over Saigon. Bombers float over Cambodia, visioned tiny from stone. Avalokiteshvar's many-faced towers. Angkor Wat in windy night. A puff of opium out of a mouth yellowed in Bangkok. A puff of hashish flowing thick out of a bearded sadhu's nostrils and eyes in Nimtala burning Ghat. Wood smoke flowing in wind across Hooghly Bridge. Incense wafted under the bow tree in Bodh Gaya in Benares. Wood piles burn at Manikarnika, returning incensed souls to Shiva. Wind dallies in the amorous leaves of Brindaban. Still air on the vast mosque floor above old Delhi's alleyways. Wind blowing over Kausani town's stone wall. Himalayan peak tops range hundreds of miles along snowy horizon. Prayer flags flutter over Almora's wood brown housetops. Trade winds carry dhows through Indian Ocean to Mombasa or down Dar Salaam's riverside sailport. Palms sway, and sailors wrapped in cotton sleep on log decks. Soft breezes up through Red Sea to Eilat's dry hotels. Paper leaflets scatter by the wailing wall, drifting into the sepulchre. Mediterranean zephyrs, leaving Tel Aviv over Crete, Lasati plains, windmills still turn the centuries near Zeus's birth cave. Piraeus wave-lashed, Venice lagoon's waters blown up over the floor of San Marco. Piazza flooded in mud on the marble porch. Gondolas bobbing up and down choppy waters at the Zaturi. Chill September fluttering through Milan's arcade, cold bones and overcoats flapping in St. Peter's Square. Down Appian Way, silence by gravesites, stele stolid on a lonely grass path, the breath of an old man laboring up road. Across Sila and Charybdis, Sicilian tobacco smoke wafted across the boat deck. Into Marseille, coal stacks, black fumes, flowed into clouds, steamers, white drift spume, downwind all the way to Tangier. A breath of red-tinged autumn in Provence, boats slow on the Seine. The lady wraps her cloak tight round her bodice, on top of Eiffel Tower's iron head. Across the channel, rough black-green waves in London's Piccadilly beer cans roll on concrete neath Eros' silver breast. The Sunday Times lifts and settles on wet fountain steps. Over Iona Isle, blue day and balmy inner Hebrides breeze. Fog drifts across Atlantic. Labrador white frozen, blowing cold. Cold down New York's canyons. Manila paper bags scurry toward wall from Lower East Side. A breath over my father's head in his apartment on Park Avenue, Patterson. A cold September breeze down from East Hill, Cherry Valley's maples, tremble red. Out through Chicago, Windy City, the vast breath of consciousness dissolves. Smokestacks and autos drift, expensive fumes ribboned across railroad tracks. Westward, a single breath blows across the plains. Nebraska's fields harvested in stubble, bending delicate in evening air. Up Rockies from Denver's Cherry Creek bed another zephyr risen. Across Pikes Peak an icy blasted sunset, Wind River peak tops flowing toward the Tetons. A breath returns vast, gliding, grass, flats, cow-dotted into Jackson Hole, into a corner of the plains. Up the asphalt road and mud parking lot, a breeze of restless September. Up wood, stairways, in the wind, into the cafeteria at Teton Village, under the red tram lift, a calm breath, a silent breath, a slow breath breathes outward from the nostrils. 28 September, 73. Thank you for watching. I may do another poem from Ginsberg, Spines Breaths, at Foggy Lake, assuming I make it over there, and there aren't too many people that I would freak out by reading poems, though that should never be a barrier. But first, the sandwich. See you next time.